Hi, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Tuesday morning, August 23rd. Patchy fog starts today here in the Mid-Atlantic region. It looks like it'll turn out to be a partly sunny day for the most part along the I-95 corridor region from D.C. to Philadelphia to New York City. Maybe an afternoon shower or thunderstorm. High pressure then moves in for the midweek. Gets a little bit warmer. We'll probably have some spots reach 90 degrees for afternoon highs on Wednesday afternoon and Thursday afternoon in that I-95 corridor in the Mid-Atlantic region. Meanwhile, some significant rainfall continues across much of the southern U.S. States from, let's say, Texas all the way to Alabama have been hit by some significant rainfall over the past few days, and some of that wet weather pattern will continue over the next few days. The desert Southwest still has some monsoonal rains, perhaps not quite as extensive as what took place about a week ago, and now we're seeing a more active tropical scene around the globe. This is the latest look from the University of Wisconsin CIMSS website. A couple of systems to watch, one right here in the Atlantic Ocean and another in the eastern Pacific, but out in the western part of the Pacific we finally have a typhoon right here and a strong tropical cyclone. So the western Pacific starting to act up, and there's now a system in the Atlantic Basin that we will monitor over the next several days. Well, here's a close-up look from NOAA's National Hurricane Center website of the Atlantic Basin. Indeed, there is a system right here, eastern part of the Atlantic Ocean. It will generally move on a west to northwest track over the next several days. Do not expect a real rapid intensification over the next several days. Conditions are just not all that favorable. Not unfavorable. It'll stay rather neutral over the next few days, and we'll continue to monitor as it moves farther and farther to the west. In general, it looks like the overall tropical scene in the Atlantic Basin will pick up in activity over the next couple of weeks as we head through the remainder of August into the early part of September. Well, one of the factors we like to monitor this time of the year as we get into the heart of the tropical season is what the upper level pattern is doing, specifically in terms of the 500 millibar height anomalies in places like southeastern Canada, maybe the northeast U.S. That high pressure ridging that often sets up this time of the year is usually a kind of a red flag that there may be some tropical waves. Certainly allows for the possibility of tropical waves to move from east to west towards the U.S. East Coast, towards the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean Sea. This is the 5-day average for the current 5-day period we are in right now in terms of 500 millibar height anomalies, with a deep upper level trough seen here in northern Canada. I want to focus in on this region right here over the next several days. We'll just move forward here in 5-day increments. This is the time period that this particular map encompasses from August 26th all the way to August 31st, days 4 to 8. This is the way the upper level pattern is predicted to look from last night's ensemble run of the GFS. And again, this is the area we're focusing in on. And you notice here as we get into the latter part of the month, into the early part of September, we get ridging that intensifies all across the northern part of the U.S., but more importantly perhaps the southern part of Canada. And it looks like this region will extend into the eastern part of Canada. We're now already into the early part of September, extending from September 3rd to September 8th. And again, we mentioned earlier that high pressure ridging in this part of North America kind of opens the door for tropical systems to move from the east to the west, undercutting that ridging. And sometimes they end up in the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean Sea, and other times threat to the southeastern U.S. coastline. Certainly something we'll be on the lookout for the end of August going into the early part of September. Well, let's take a look at the surface maps from last night's 6Z run of the GFS. There is a wave of low pressure over New York State this morning, causing some showers, and even some showers now moving in the northwestern part of Pennsylvania. Again, this afternoon there can be some scattered showers and thunderstorms in the Mid-Atlantic region, certainly a little bit more likely over the northeastern part of the nation, with an upper level trough sitting over that region. It departs later today and high pressure moves in. Let's keep moving forward It looks like Wednesday and Thursday generally rain-free and quite warm in the Mid-Atlantic region in the Northeast U.S. Again, high temperatures tomorrow afternoon and Thursday could reach 90 degrees in places like D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, and generally rain-free conditions. Still continuation of some wetness across the southern states. Here we now get into Thursday, and then we'll move quickly into the upcoming weekend. This is the Friday scene here, and there is a frontal system that drops through the Mid-Atlantic region by the weekend, and high pressure looks like it'll dominate the scene in the northeastern part of the nation. It could be setting up for a pretty decent weekend going into the latter stages of the month of August. Now let's move forward here kind of quickly into next week. We're now all the way out to next Tuesday. This is a week from right now. Notice this frontal system, a strong frontal system dropping south and east across the eastern part of Canada. The reason I point that out is strong high pressure will follow. Here we have a strong high pressure system by the middle part of next week. Cold frontal system moving off the eastern seaboard, and this is the time period where we may see that high pressure start to really build into southeastern Canada, both at the surface level with which is what this is indicating, and at the upper levels of the atmosphere, which we saw a moment ago from those 500 millibar height anomaly maps. By the way, all these maps from tropicaltidbits.com. And here we go into Thursday. This is the very first day of the month of September, and we have large high pressure, strong high pressure starting to set up this part of North America, both at the surface and upper levels. And we'll have to watch at this particular time for possible tropical systems that again can undercut that ridge moving from east to west towards perhaps the east coast of the U.S. Let's go out a little bit farther in time, and we'll indeed start to see some tropical systems. Here's one possibility. This is now out in the speculation phase, more than 10 days out here in the early part of September. But again, I think the overall pattern suggests that something like this is a possibility, that tropical systems will undercut that ridging and perhaps impact the southeastern U.S., the Gulf of Mexico. And we'll see what happens here. We have a couple systems showing up here on the GFS, one right tucked in near the Carolina coastline, and it looks like a stronger system still over the western Atlantic. But again, this is that pattern that we will watch for at the end of August going into early September. High pressure up here, allowing for the possibility of tropical systems kind of undercut that high, and the area of concern certainly will be this part of the U.S. and the Gulf of Mexico, the southwestern part of the Atlantic at this particular time. We're more than a week away here, so we have time to monitor this. This is actually forecast for the early part of September. So the tropics are starting to wake up, something we'll monitor here at arcfieldweather.com over the next couple of weeks, it looks like, and perhaps going all the way through the bulk of September. That's it for now. For arcfieldweather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.